All right, so thanks everybody for joining us today for resumes and LinkedIn. We have some genius tips to help you showcase your best self. I am Becky Siekmeyer. I'm the program director for the SciTech internship program. And with me today is Piper Cleveland. She's our student outreach and communications manager, and Jessica Cameron of the Lewis Stokes North Star STEM Alliance. So we are doing this presentation in partnership to bring you these job search workshops. So Jessica, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about the North Star STEM Alliance and how people can get involved.
Thank you, Becky. Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Cameron. I use she, her pronouns, and I am currently the assistant director for the President's Emerging Scholars Program, and I'll be helping out the Lewis Stokes North Star STEM Alliance program on campus. So I'm really excited to be here with you all, also to get some tips and tricks from Becky and Piper today. But I do want to tell you a little bit more about the North Star STEM Alliance. So the North Star STEM Alliance is a statewide program. We support, I think we're at about 17 schools now, including transfer community college schools, which is exciting, strengthening the pipeline. And we support students into getting advanced degrees in STEM. So the support looks like providing financial support, so going to conferences or doing research on your campuses. We also host some summer research opportunities housed at the University of Minnesota over the summer, but is open to all of our students in the Alliance to apply. And we offer a variety of workshops like this in partnership with some of our stakeholders. So we're currently in transition with our leadership team. So making sure you're signed up for your campus's email listserv is the best way to be connected with us at this time. But keep us in mind as you're thinking about doing research on your campuses or exploring going to conferences. So now I'll turn it back over to Becky and Piper. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. Whoops. There we go. All right. So if any of you are looking for internships, SciTech is the place to be. This is a statewide program that connects college students in STEM majors with paid internships in small companies. And the small companies that we work with receive a wage match that helps them cover the cost of the interns' wages. So they have a big incentive to use our pool of candidates. So there are jobs that are posted pretty much weekly. The number of internships changes a little bit, but they're all STEM internships and they're kind of across the board, across a range of STEM majors. And once you're registered with SciTech, you will get our weekly new jobs email, and that will help you see the opportunities as they come up. So now is a really great time to register. And you can do that by going to our website, scitechmn.org. And there you will see the student application. You'll see the student requirements in terms of number of credits required and that sort of thing. And you'll also see our blog that Piper writes that will highlight what the SciTech internships look like. So if you have any questions, go ahead and contact Piper, scitechmn@mintech.org, and you'll find that email address on our website as well. So the links to the resources that we're using in this workshop are all going to be available on in Google Drive. And most of my content comes directly from a great resource that I use all the time called the Muse. Piper's going to put a link in the chat for you to get to that folder and access all these resources. I want to let you know that we have a lot of ground to cover today and we'll be moving pretty quickly. Please feel free to ask questions whenever you have them. I don't have any built-in question stop points, so feel free to just jump in. And then, as you know, the program is being recorded, so you'll be able to go back and review this later if you need to. So here's a quick summary of some of the things that you're going to learn today. We're going to go over the purpose of a resume versus a LinkedIn profile and why you should have both. We're going to talk about genius tips and resources for crafting really top-notch descriptions of your skills and experience. We're going to talk about why keywords are so important, and we're going to tell you where to find them. And then we're going to give you some pointers for creating or improving your LinkedIn profile and your resume. All right, so let's start off with the difference between resumes and LinkedIn profiles. There is a difference in terms of their uses and their capabilities. A resume is a one-page summary of your experience, education, and skills. And it makes it easy for a hiring manager to see if you're a good fit for the role that they have open, and you should tailor it for each job that you are applying to. The limitations of a resume are that space is limited because you only have one page. And even though it's a short document, hiring managers tend to spend about 7 seconds on average looking at your resume. So you want to make sure that you have every word working hard for you. And then in contrast, LinkedIn is going to provide an opportunity to establish your personal and or your professional brand online. And once you have an account, you can use it to search for jobs, you can join groups, you can share thoughts and content, and you can research people and companies. The downside of LinkedIn is that you can't tailor it for each job opening. It's basically you've got one account and that's what's up there. So you want to think through the story that you're telling about yourself. You really should finish your profile once you've created one, because you're going to show up higher in search results if you do. And if you do create that profile, you'll want to keep that updated just like you update your resume. All right, so let's talk about resumes. You've probably heard some of these things about resumes before, but let's go over them just in case you haven't, because they're worth repeating. You want to pick a readable font and don't go smaller than 11-point type. You want to make sure the layout is easy to read with consistent formatting and with simplistic formatting, because you could have the greatest content in the world, but if the formatting on your resume is annoying or difficult to read, a recruiter is just going to go right past it. They're just going to move on. So keep these tips in mind as you're building your document. You want to avoid writing in the first person. So don't use phrases that include I, my, we, or our. You want to use bullet points. And when you're proofreading, you want to proofread not only for typos, but also for consistent formatting. And then use white space. White space is your friend. You want to keep the margins between 0.7 and 1 inch. So we found some helpful college resumes on the Muse, and we're going to give you some ideas. Piper's going to put a link in the chat on that. One other thing I wanted to mention about resumes is that when employers are looking for candidates, what they care about is the role that they're trying to fill. So they need to know what kind of responsibilities and work that you can handle day to day, and what kind of value you can bring to their organization. So you want to have a clear and easy to understand resume, and that's the way that you let them know that you are the right person for the job. How many of you have heard of ATS, or applicant tracking systems? I'm kind of curious if that jargon is in your lingo. Lots of organizations are starting to use ATS systems because recruiters can put in filters to search for keywords in candidate applications, and it helps them match the candidate to the criteria and identify potential matches more quickly. So to make sure that you get through that ATS system, you want to keep a couple things in mind. Use keywords that are relevant to the job on your resume and in your cover letter. We'll talk more about finding those keywords here in just a minute. You want to avoid using any kind of tables or text boxes or hyperlinks because the ATS systems won't read those. They also often won't read things that are written in all caps. They'll think it's an acronym and they could skip it. And then another thing that we saw was to not use hyperlinks in subheaders, but I've never seen anybody do that. But anyway, these are just some of the basics. You can learn more about formatting your resume to get past an ATS in these 2 articles that are also on the Muse. As I said, I got a lot of great stuff on Muse. And the second one of these articles is going to give you a template for how to get through that ATS system. So Piper just put that in the chat. All right, so I promised you a couple of genius tips, and here's my first one, and that is to create a master resume. This is going to be a document that has all of your work experience in it. Just keep like a running tab of everything that you've ever done. It will make it a lot easier for you to go back in future. You'll be able to go back easier and pull out relevant information each time you're tailoring your resume for a new job. Okay, so let's go through the main sections of a resume, and these probably look pretty standard. Experts recommend the following order for college students. You're going to have the summary, or the title at the top, a summary and skills section, and this now replaces what people used to have on their resume, which was an area called the objective. You now want to replace that with summary and skills, and then your education, work experience, and activities. So let's take a look at these sections one at a time. All right, well, the title is pretty obvious. It's your name, it's your location, which the city or region, and then your email and phone number. And you want to have your full name. And if you have a preferred nickname, like I usually go by Becky instead of Rebecca, you can add that in parentheses. And if you have an unusual last name like Siekmeyer, you could think about putting in a pronunciation key right below your name. Then next comes the city and state where you live, and a good email address and a phone number. And then make sure you don't put your actual full street address in there. You don't need to do that. And then if you don't have a real professional looking personal email, go ahead and use your college email address. If you do have a decent LinkedIn profile, go ahead and put that on at the top of your resume. And if you have a personal portfolio or a website, you can put that there as well. Okay, so next is the summary and skills section. And your goal here is to make it easy for recruiters and hiring managers to see your most relevant knowledge and experience right up front. So the way you're going to do this is you need to read the job description carefully to figure out what are the skills that they're looking for, and then tailor this section to coincide with that job opening. You want to include things like the software or tools you know well, such as coding languages, lab equipment, maybe you know how to use a 3D printer or AutoCAD. And this is also a good place to include the languages that you speak. You can add a short description of education or industry related experience you've had. And if your work experience isn't related to the job that you're applying for, but your major is, you can go ahead and include some skills or projects and highlight those if they're relevant to the job. If you were active in any student groups or had leadership roles, go ahead and include that here as well. So I took a stab at writing a sample summary, and don't pay attention to the formatting in my examples. They're not meant to be formatting samples. They're just meant to be content examples. So let's say you're a civil engineering major. Your summary could say, pursuing a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering, cum laude. If you do have like summa cum laude, magna cum laude, those should be in italics and all lowercase, just in case. A little something I learned while I was putting this together. Attained fundamentals in engineering, June 2022. Collaborated on the design of a major bridge using Civil 3D while interning at HC United. Experience working with fellow engineers, construction personnel, and manufacturers, and fluent in English and Spanish. All right, next comes the education section. So of course, you're going to include the name of your college, your expected graduation date. You're going to talk about the type of degree that you're pursuing, like a Bachelor of Science, and then any majors, minors, or concentrations that you might have. Your GPA, if it's above at 3.5 or higher, and any coursework that's relevant to the job that you're applying for. So again, remember, you're always tailoring here. And then if you've attended any other colleges or universities like study abroad, go ahead and include that as well. So continuing on with our civil engineering example, you could say University of Minnesota, Twin Cities, expected graduation date, December 2022, Bachelor of Science, Civil Engineering with a concentration in structures, relevant coursework, steel design, concrete design, bridge design, and structures, cumulative GPA 3.5, Dean's List, fall 2019 through spring of 2022, and study abroad, Polytechnic University of Catalonia, Barcelona, Spain, spring 2021. And just so you know, this is these are made up examples. This is not anybody that I actually know. Okay, so work experience is the next section, and this is where you are going to highlight research, jobs and internships you've had, the skills you've used, and your accomplishments. You're going to put the jobs in reverse chronological order. So you're going to do your current jobs first, and then in reverse order by date. Each entry should include the job title, the organization's name, their location, and the dates that you work there. And then current roles should be described in the present tense, past roles in past tense. You can include a significant class or volunteer project here if you're short on work experience, as long as you're clear that it was a class project. So we're going to take a look at the work experience example in just a minute. But first, we're going to talk about how to craft impactful descriptions. And I think this is the hardest part of putting a resume together. So here's one way to take a stab at it. First, reflect on a position that you've had and answer some of these questions. What was your role? What were the goals of the position? What tasks did you specifically do? What projects did you work on? Who did you work with? And then what did you accomplish or intend to accomplish? So here's my second genius tip for you. Keep a log of your accomplishments. Whether it's in an internship, during your research, or volunteering, take a few minutes, like every time you get a paycheck, and just jot down what you're working on. And then if you get any emails or feedback from people that are written down, keep track of that, any kudos that you get, and keep your example of your job descriptions as well. You can use a journal, you can use an app, send yourself texts or emails, whatever works for you. The important thing is to just do it, because it'll make all this resume and LinkedIn stuff so much easier, and you will thank yourself if you do this. My next genius tip is that when you're ready to start listing accomplishments on your resume, try using this formula: action verb plus subject plus result. So let's talk about that. Action verbs are specific skills. So for example, you can see the examples of the words here, but instead of saying worked on, you could say collaborated on, or oversaw instead of responsible for. You want to kind of mix things up a little bit and don't use the same action verbs that everybody else is using. The second and third parts of the formula are the subject and the result. So the subject is obviously the thing that you're talking about, and the result is what you accomplished. What was the outcome? And when you can, you want to try to quantify this with like dollars or percentages, because numbers are easier to digest than straight text. So an example of what this could look like would be, instead of just saying that you tutored students in a computer center, you could say you doubled the number of students served from 6 to 12 per hour, which reduced wait time and stress for customers. So you can find a lot of great advice in this article that I think Piper just put into the chat. It's called How to Write Resume Bullets That'll Make the Hiring Manager Pay Attention. And that's basically what we just showed you. So work experience, the example again, following along on this civil engineering theme. Civil engineering intern, HZ United, Plymouth, Minnesota, May 2022 to August 2022. By the way, HZ United is a sci-tech company, and I believe they have an opening posted on our website right now. Collaborated on design of major public bridge using Civil 3D that improves safety and traffic flow. Research stress and load requirements using MnDOT specifications that resulted in a compliant draft design. So you can see not only what the task was, but also what the result was. Okay, and then finally comes the activities section. And this area can also be used to demonstrate skills. For example, if you're a student athlete, you can talk about your excellent time management. And if you were in a leadership role for any of your activities, such as like the treasurer of a student group or a team captain, you want to include that here as well. So our example reads team lead for concrete canoe competition, fall 2021 to present. Treasurer, American Society of Civil Engineers, Minnesota Student Chapter. Played goalie for intramural soccer team, 2022 league champions. And volunteer science instructor, Minnesota Science Museum, 2021 to present.
So Becky,
Yep.
I'm just curious because I think I know the answer to this, but in case other people are wondering, why is it good to include like sports in the teams that you're on?
Because it shows teamwork. It shows, well, a couple different things. It shows that you can handle more than just your coursework, that you are involved in other things outside of just taking classes. It shows that you are able to work in teams. That's why showing that you're taking part in student groups and stuff is a good thing as well.
Awesome, cool, thanks.
Yep. Shows motivation. Yep, for sure. Yeah, feel free, guys, anytime you have a question, go ahead and jump in. So the most important thing to remember about your resume is that you need to tailor it for any time that you're applying to a new job with the accomplishments and skills that are most relevant to that job. So tailoring your resume simply means including keywords that relate specifically to the job posting. So by now you might be wondering, where are you going to find those keywords? So let's talk about that. The job description is key and your first and best resource. So what you want to do is go through the job description and underline everything that you've had some experience in. This could be specific tasks, it could be software, tools, it could even be personal qualities. And doing this exercise can help you identify the right words to work into your bullet points. It can also help you decide what past experiences or which college courses that you want to include that are going to be relevant to the role. So there's, of course, other sources to find keywords. You can look at the company's website. You can look at their LinkedIn profile. You can look people up on LinkedIn that have similar positions, especially at that company, and see how they are describing things. You can talk to your college career center and see what kind of tools they have. And here's my next genius tip. You can check out a free tool called ONET Online. And I can't wait to show you guys what this does because this is genius, truly. It's a website for career exploration and job analysis. But let me show you how to use it to find keywords. So the website is onetonline.org, and don't go there yet because we're going to do an activity in just a minute so you can explore it for yourself. When you get to the home page, right here on the, hopefully you can see my mouse, on the menu where it says find occupations, click on that and go down to STEM, select that. And then you can pick an occupation. And I picked in this example, computer and mathematical. And that brought me to another list of results. And I clicked on software developers. So drum roll. All right, when you click on that, bam, look at this, voila, all kinds of great information here. It'll tell you exactly the description of what a software developer does. It'll give you examples of different kinds of job titles. And if you scroll down under occupation specific information, if you read the tasks and the technology skills, and note that it shows that they have more than just the ones that are displayed. So make sure you look at all of them. It will give some really great descriptions of the work. And these examples can help you craft your experience using what they're using here. So I thought this was genius in terms of trying to figure out how to write these things. So what we're going to do now is a little activity so that you can give ONET a try. And maybe we can just put, Jessica, just put everybody into, all of the students just into one breakout room. And Piper is going to put the instructions into the chat so that you know how to get to that site, and then the instructions for the things that I was clicking on. So you can go ahead and give this a try. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Now we are going to talk about LinkedIn, and I'm going to cover mostly basic stuff today, but we will be hosting some workshops in December and then also at the beginning of the spring semester, and we'll do a little deeper dive on the platform then. So one important thing to know about LinkedIn is that this is not just a copy and paste from your resume. You are going to use it to tell a story about who you are, what you do, and what you want to be known for. One of the statistics that I found was that 87% of recruiters and hiring managers are going to look for a LinkedIn profile when you apply to a job. So you definitely want to have a presence there. And even though you want to focus most of your energy on the top section of your LinkedIn profile, it's important to complete the entire thing. And that's because you're far more likely to show up in search results if you do that. So Piper's got a great LinkedIn article with tips that are specifically for STEM students. So she's going to put that in the chat. And we are going to talk about the very top of your LinkedIn profile, which is going to be a profile picture and cover image. So you are 21 times more likely to get page views if you have a profile picture, and 9 times more likely to get connection requests if you have a photo. And so you want this to be a professional photo. You want to be looking at the camera. It's more engaging. People have a hard time connecting if you're not looking at the camera. And try hard not to use a photo where you're cropping other people out. So if it's from like a wedding or a party or something, try to get just a snapshot of just you. You'd be better off doing a selfie than cutting somebody out of a picture, unless you got Photoshop and you can Photoshop them out. Then you also want to make sure that you include a cover image. And what you want to do is look for an image that is related to part of your story. So in my example, I was talking about civil engineering students. And so, and the person said that they were interested in structures. So I found a picture of my favorite bridge. And if you don't have a great picture, maybe your picture is across the world somewhere, we have this really cool free resource that we use all the time called pexels.com. And so you can find some fun images there. Okay, the next thing that you want to do is write an impactful headline. And the headline is going to be the first thing that most viewers are going to read. And by default, LinkedIn puts in a headline that has your current job title and your employer, but you can do a little bit better than that and communicate more about who you are. And so here are two examples. One says full-time mechanical engineering student at Metro State, part-time hardware engineer at Third Wave Systems, or full-time aerospace engineering student at University of Minnesota, chief rocket scientist in Rocket Club, and part-time calculus tutor. So Piper's got another thing from the Muse about creating a good headline. And I love the title of this one. It's called, Does Your LinkedIn Headline Suck? So I just love the Muse, as you can tell. Lots of great stuff here. Okay, so the next section to focus on is your summary statement. The summary is the #1 thing that recruiters look at when they're viewing profiles according to LinkedIn data. So this area is going to sum up your professional history, qualifications, and tell a little bit about your personality and your mission. So you're going to introduce yourself. You are going to talk about who you are as a professional, what you want to do, highlight some skills and experiences and achievements. You can do this in paragraph form or bullet points, either way. And then in the LinkedIn article that we mentioned previously, they recommend that students share something personal about why they chose the field that they're interested in, your STEM discipline. And then, unlike your resume, try writing in first person because it's more like you're speaking directly to the person. So that's another key difference between resumes and LinkedIn profiles. And then you can include a call to action, such as asking them to connect with you or discuss job opportunities. So this is an example summary statement of someone who is a former SciTech intern. And it's not written in the first person, but it's still a really great summary. So Tatum Rios is a first-generation college student who started her academic career at Inver Hills Community College as a high school PSEO student. In the spring of 2019, she graduated from Inver Hills with Associate of Science degrees in Engineering Fundamentals and Chemistry. She then continued her education at the University of Minnesota, where she majored in chemical engineering and minored in computer science. This fall, she will be pursuing a PhD in material science and engineering at MIT, and pursuing a PhD, she hopes to bring representation to the field and support the next generation of underserved scientists and engineers through mentorship and teaching. And then she also includes her personal website. So she really nails it here. She talks about her achievements. She talks about now she's going on to a PhD at MIT. And then what her mission is about bringing representation to the field and supporting next generation students. So really awesome example of a real summary. So for the experience section, you are going to include your work experiences that are relevant to your goals. And you don't have to list every job that you've ever had. You can add a description of each work experience. And unlike a resume, you can write this in a narrative form versus bullet points. Again, kind of like you're talking directly to the person. And then don't list just generic duties. Feature the significant details and results of the tasks that you performed. You want to focus on your most recent roles and those in which you had a leadership position. And then the other thing that's great about LinkedIn is you can add media elements, right? So you can add a PowerPoint presentation, you can put in CAD drawings, you can put in images, videos, you can link to external documents and sites to demonstrate your skills and experience. So the most important elements, though, of the experience section are keywords, keywords, keywords. Kind of like when you're buying a house, it's location, location, location. You want to identify the most commonly used keywords in your industry, like we've been talking about. And that is really essential in helping to bump you up in search results when recruiters are looking on LinkedIn. So we have yet another article for you to check out called How to Create the Experience section on LinkedIn. So Piper's going to put that in the chat. And then we are going to talk about putting your experience in narrative form, just so you can see what that looks like. So earlier we talked about this civil engineering student had these bullet points on his resume. His LinkedIn profile might look like this. In this role, I collaborated with senior engineers and consultants to create drawings in Civil 3D for a major public bridge. I led research on MnDOT's stress and load requirements that were specific to the geography of the building site, which led to the initial bridge design being safety compliant from the get-go. This saved significant time on the project, which ultimately saved the company more than $25,000 in design fees. And then here, he could include a PDF of his initial drawing or photo of the completed bridge. That would really be a nice touch. So I have another genius tip for you. Similar to ONET, LinkedIn has something called LinkedIn Career Explorer. So it's a relatively new tool that's designed to help people see potential career paths and how their skills match the real jobs, but it's also another really great tool to find keywords used by industry professionals, especially on LinkedIn. So again, we're going to have an activity here in just a minute, so you don't have to go here yet, but LinkedIn Explorer is actually not in the LinkedIn site. At least I couldn't figure out how to get to it. It's actually through GitHub. So again, we're going to put the link in the chat here in just a few minutes. But when you go to LinkedIn Career Explorer, you're going to, when you land on the page, scroll down a little ways, maybe about a third of the way down, and you'll see something that says Explore Job Transitions. And the reason you want to get to this section is because down here, it's going to say enter a job title. So here's where you'd put in, put in your major basically, right? And then hit enter. And your search results are going to pull up a whole bunch of skills that mechanical engineers often have. So these would be considered keywords or key skills. And so you can make sure if you have these skills to work them into your LinkedIn profile and on your resume. All right, so Jessica, we're going to do another 5-minute activity to give people a chance to check out LinkedIn Career Explorer. So Piper is going to put she's going to put the instructions into the chat. So we can go
Before
ahead.
I open the rooms, I noticed someone had their hand up.
Okay, yep. Khalid, I just saw that. Khalid, do you want to just talk or do you want to put it into?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have a question. So in LinkedIn, I know there's activities or license certificates in the bottom. Is there any way we could get, like, I know you have to pay for them to be able to do them. Is there any way we could get waived during the school? I know some school, they waive them or they have programs that helps pay for license exams on price.
I'm not sure that I fully understood all of that. LinkedIn is free. Is that what you're asking about?
I know, no, in LinkedIn, in the bottom, there's like license and certificates, right?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and then there's,
yeah. Can your school help you get any of those licenses? That's something that Jessica, maybe you and Marcus have some knowledge about. Like, are you at the U, Khalid?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, Jessica and Marcus, do you know of any funding available for students to get those certificates?
Yeah, from my perspective, I think that's a great point, Khalid. I'm happy that you asked. I don't know if that's written into our North Star grant, so I'd have to do some follow-up about that question, and maybe that's something that we should consider if it isn't something that's currently being done. Khalid, would you mind direct messaging me your email?
Yes, yes.
Another thing you could do, Khalid, is just talk to your professors, or I don't know what your major is or what college you're in. You might be able to talk to someone in your career center or in like the dean of your college to see if they have any kind of funding available for that. Because sometimes they have some obscure fund that some alumni donor has, given money to help students with that. So they very well might have something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious because Chicago State University does that. So it was just,
Okay,
I was just curious. Thank you for your answer. I really appreciate it.
sure. Yeah, sorry, I don't have a better answer for you. All right, well, Piper, I don't know if you already put the instructions in. Okay, very good. So go ahead and copy the instructions for how to get to LinkedIn Career Explorer. And we're going to give you 5 minutes, and Jessica's going to put all of you into a breakout room so you can kind of take another run at this. And we'll see you back here in 5 minutes. And I'm curious to hear what you think. All right. So here's a few tips for completing your LinkedIn profile. Make sure you include your geographic location. You're going to be more likely to be found on in a LinkedIn search. If you do, you want to make sure you add your education and then any certificates or awards, skills, volunteer work, any associations that you belong to, that sort of thing. Did you know that you can get a custom URL for your LinkedIn page? Piper's going to put some information in the chat that'll get you to an article that'll show you how to do that. We don't have time to do that now. And then once you have that custom URL, you can add that to your resume. And then once you have your profile set up, you want to start connecting with other people. You can ask people to provide recommendations for you, people like classmates, coworkers, mentors, professors, supervisors, and then offer to provide a recommendation for them in return. And then you can expand your network, as we talked about, by connecting with other people. Follow companies that you're interested in. You can like and comment on their posts, and then join professional groups. So 50% of hiring managers are going to decide whether or not to contact you based on your LinkedIn profile. So it's really worth it to spend the time to make this good. As digital natives, I'm sure you already know that your online brand goes way beyond a LinkedIn profile. So be smart out there. I was at a webinar not too long ago where they were saying that some companies are using AI to research candidates. So including your social media posts, your comments, and even your searches, which I thought was kind of creepy. But be thoughtful about the digital trail that you're leaving behind. Make it easy for companies to find really great things about you. So make some thought leader posts, celebrate what other people are doing. Don't make all of your comments about things that you're doing. And then I recommend scheduling 15 minutes once a week or once every 2 weeks to do something on LinkedIn to establish your presence, whether it's beefing up your profile, connecting with other people, following companies, sharing and liking posts, that sort of thing. So I know it's hard sometimes to get started on doing your resume and creating your LinkedIn profile. So I have some suggestions on how to move forward. Find a buddy, especially like if you're not a great writer, partner with somebody that is, and trade your strengths or buy them a beverage. You can motivate each other to move ahead. Another fun thing to kind of get you in the spirit is to take a personality assessment to help you get ideas for keywords to describe yourself in your summary statement. And Piper's going to put a link in the chat to highlight a few options for those. And then use the tools that we've pulled together. ONET and LinkedIn Career Explorer. ONET might be better for some of you. And then meet with your career services staff. Then get an internship. If you haven't already, sign up for SciTech. There's nothing like experience to build your confidence and give you something to talk about with recruiters. You can augment your resume and LinkedIn profile with an online portfolio that showcases your projects and capabilities. And I want to share something that SciTech has for you, and that is a 10% discount on a new online portfolio called One Portfolio. Having an online portfolio is a really powerful way to show potential employers what you can do. And they're easy to showcase, things like the code you've written, CAD models you've designed or whatever makes sense for your field of study, you can check it out at https one portfolio and then it's .io. So when you sign up for SciTech, you'll get that 10% discount code.